Hello everyone, thank you so much for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedules to hear me share about a very important topic that is very near and dear to my heart. For those of you who don't know me, I came from a single parent household. My mother abandoned me when I was just a few months old due to her psychological issues and a variety of drug issues as well. My dad raised me on his own. He was a police officer prior to me being born, and later on he decided to join the entrepreneurial field and decided to open up his very own security company. And it was called Star Enterprises. The further the company got along, the more successful the company became and the more of his time that it required. We had a beautiful home and everything we could have ever dreamed of, and especially me as a kid. But the one thing I did not have was my dad. He was gone from the time I left from school, and I was asleep by the time he got home from work. So I basically had to raise myself. Having no parental guidance, I got involved with drugs and gangs at a very early age. At the age of 15, I caught my first gang-related fraud charge, and it was a downward spiral from that point on. After a number of minor charges here and there, I got busted for the big one, which was a gang-related attack on someone at the age of 20, which landed me in Chowchilla State Prison. I paroled to my dad's house, and just 3 short months later, he passed away. My point is that youth who live in absentee parents' homes are far more likely to get involved in crime, in drugs, and experience a lifetime of hardships as compared to even a single parent household. And the reason this happens is because there's no one to look after them and guide them. Most people would ask, what would cause parents to be absent from their home? There are a variety of answers that I could offer, but again, they're all circumstantial. In my case, my dad was trying to provide for me, which caused him to be absent from the home. However, for others, the possibilities are endless. Some parents are trying not to take responsibility for the lives that they created. Some parents are just not ready to take on everything. Some parents are so wrapped up in a life of crime that they would rather leave their child to be than really take the time to care for them on their own. There are also some parents who fear the ability to take care of their children. So in turn, they leave them with someone else and expect them to raise them. Every parent has circumstances that are for their own personal reasons. And some are far more valid than others, like my dad's. One would think that by keeping your child in school, even in an absent parent home, would be of some benefit to the child, when in fact the statistics are rather alarming. In an article written by Jared Brown, research has shown that children who come from a father-absent home are far more likely to drop out of school when compared to children who live in a 2-parent household. According to liveabout.com, 71% of all high school dropouts are a result of having an absentee parent home. These youth lack the ability to want to do well in school because they feel as if no one cares about them. So in turn, they give up hope and they drop out. After all, if you saw no future ahead, would you want to continue to push through? I was one of these youth. I dropped out of high school in 10th grade. This also coincided with the number of children who were runaways. In another alarming statistic from liveabout.com, 90% of all homeless and runaway children are results of absentee parent homes. When I was 17, I cut off my ankle monitor and decided to run away because I felt as if my dad did not care. Another major factor when we look at when it comes to absentee parent homes is the likelihood that a child will become involved in criminal activity or use illicit drugs at some point. These youth struggle with a desire to fit in and feel accepted, especially when they aren't being nurtured the way they need at home. From my personal experience, gangs will always accept you. They will make all kinds of false promises and make you feel like they love you. And in turn, you're gonna do what they say. As long as you do, everything will be great. But when in reality, they could care less. Because in the end, they're in it for them. As long as you don't snitch them out when you're caught, you'll still be considered part of the family when you get out. Jared Brown suggests having a father in a child's life greatly reduces the likelihood of a child joining a gang. And trust me, you don't want to make the same mistake I did. According to Psychology Today, 85% of youth in prison have an absent father. Fatherless children are far more likely to go to jail as adults, and drugs often become one of the leading gateways into that life. In an article from NMPH Health, the boys who came from a home without a father are far more likely to use drugs than boys who came from a home where a father was absent. Involvement of a father can hence be a protective factor against child and adolescent substance abuse. I had my first taste of drugs when I was a mere 15 years old. I was still a baby at the time, and I had no clue about the path that I was about to go on as a result of my negative choice. My father didn't have the slightest clue what I was doing, and by the time he finally discovered it, I was way too far gone. As a parent of 3 beautiful young children and the experiences that I have endured as a child who did not have an active parent in their life, I never want my children to experience the same thing. I never want them to go through the struggles that I faced and that I endured, as well as the horrific experiences that I went through. As parents, it is our God-given role to stand up and take responsibility for the little lives that we were blessed with and to fight to make a difference in their lives. There is no circumstance too big that could ever force us to make the decision to not play an active and positive role in the lives of our children. We need to stand up and fight for their lives so that they can have something better than we did. And we need to spend every single waking moment to make sure that we make it a priority to guide them in the right direction.